Welcome to another episode of the Wandering Watercolor. Today we're painting another page of the Everyday People watercolor coloring book. The info for that will be in the description, and if you bought it from me and that's why you're here, I really appreciate you. I do put a lot of time and effort into making these books, so thank you. And if you're here just to paint along, just pause the image, sketch it out, or the same sketch that we have, and then once you're done, hit play and let's get to paint. This is the image that we're working on today, and this is what it will look like once we're done. Now, I do want to say that this one came out, the skin tone came out much more orange than I wanted it to, so we will definitely fix that today. And excuse me, it's always there's usually always some sort of variability from image to image. That's why I really like these coloring books, is because you can just practice and make different color schemes and kind of play around with and understand lighting and color theory better while just working on the same object. By now I've painted pretty much all of the pages in this book at least once, and most of them twice. It's interesting to see how much better I get with the lighting and the colors every time I paint the same image, which gives you just a better depth of understanding of how to use watercolors, which is honestly the whole point of these books. This is the palette that I'm using today. It's the same little palette that I make. If you bought it from me, you can use this. If not, you can use any palette that you have at home. That's perfectly fine. You can even use acrylic or ink or oil. The paper that I use is high quality, so it'll take whatever medium you put on it. I always suggest you have a little mixing dish on the side. I have a little soap dish here, but you can have a plate or whatever, as long as it's glass or porcelain, something that's easy to clean up, that you can mix colors on top of. This is the same brush that I sell, so I'm using it in these tutorials. I will be discontinuing this brush just because it's very hard to find suppliers that are carrying it, so I might just start including a different brush in the palettes or the books themselves, but we'll see. Okay, so let's get to painting, and this is a pretty straightforward image. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 colors in this image, so it should be pretty easy to make it happen. Excuse me, my allergies are definitely bothering me a little bit today. So I'm just laying down a little bit of water here on the plate and then grabbing some of the burgundy. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and we'll grab some of the brown. And you can easily mix these colors if you're not using my palette. Just get whatever red color you have and then throw in some brown. Okay, and then we want to dull it down a little bit, and also darken it. The way that we'll do that is we'll grab a little bit more brown and then a little bit of green. Not too much. There we go. That's just enough. Perfect. And we're going to go ahead and color in these chairs. They're kind of like a red plastic chair, but we're going to do the dark areas first, the shadows. The reason being is you'll see as it dries it gets much lighter, so when we add the other colors on top of it, it'll help us really kind of push those contrasts. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just go ahead and fill in this back leg right here, just like that. And then there's a line outlining underneath where the fella is sitting, right there. This back leg a little bit, maybe halfway, right like that. Get a little more, and then this back leg, just all the way down. And it does not have to be perfect. There's an indent in the plastic, so I'm just gonna go ahead and create that right here and right here, like that. There is also an indent on this chair. Just kind of like a short stroke, kind of curving down like that. And same right here, just like that. And then a little line like this, and then going down the side. And then this back leg right here. And just kind of like that. We're good. So all of that looks pretty good. Next, we're gonna rinse off our brush a little bit. Come back here, add a little bit of water from the brush that was already on the brush. Grab the red that's right there. A little more red. Yeah, a little more. Okay, now it's more of a reddish brown. And we're gonna grab more water, kind of dilute it. And a little more of the burgundy. Okay, there we go. And now we're gonna grab the part that's a little more diluted. And right here, there's a lot of pigment. Here it's more water, so you can see it. It's lighter. So we're gonna grab this, and then we're just gonna go right in and then just lay down a flat wash, covering over the dark spots that we already put in. Here at the corner, we're gonna leave a little bit of a white area, almost like a highlight that's on the plastic. And then we're just gonna cover all the way through and over the shadow, just like that. Same on this leg, right here. And then get a little more of where it's less dense, right there. And then here we're also going to leave a little highlight. And just cover that in like that. A little highlight. Make it a little smaller though. Just like that. And then just use the flat wash to cover throughout right here. And then leave a little highlight, just a white spot right here. Cover all of this. Grab a little more. Going down, down, just like that. And then make that highlight a little smaller. There we go, on the back leg here. Grab that, cover it in. Good so far. Rinse off our brush. So actually, we're gonna grab just a little bit of pigment right there, and then we're just gonna do just a little bit right here, a much fainter pigment, like a much fainter flat wash. The reason being is we want to show that the water bottle is kind of distorting some of the color from the chair. We'll rinse that off. And next we will grab what we're going to go in for the pants. Now the pants have two white stripes running along the side of the leg. And the way that we're going to do those is there's no markings on the paper. We're just going to kind of freehand them in, and it shouldn't be difficult at all. We're just going to get some black and then some dark blue. Just kind of mix them in together. A little more black, a little more dark blue. And then, same as before, we're just gonna go first straight for where all the really dark spots are. Kind of right in here. And like that. And we will have to reinforce those dark spots later, but that's okay. So we're just kind of adding where the shadow is, just a little bit right here, like that, and a little bit of a fold right here, just like that, and then a line right there, and then another one, because there's a fold in the pants. They're long pants, but they're folded to be kind of short, like it's hot outside or something. Okay. And then we're going to also add a line underneath the shirt leading up to where the hand is. And then a little bit back here and kind of cover this part. Just a little bit of a shadow. Okay. And there's a line to show another fold. There's 3 little folds right here. Just like that. And then just a little bit of a blob kind of like that. And then also a little bit underneath the arm or the forearm, and that's pretty good. Okay, so now I'm gonna rinse off my brush, put just a little bit of water on another part of your plate. On top of that part, we're just gonna grab a little bit of this mixture right here and then just mix it in, because we're trying to get the same color, just much more diluted so that it comes out much lighter. So just grab that, and then that looks about right. And then first we're going to do a very thin line going from here, going like this, like that, almost like he's holding the line. Did not mean to do that, but that's okay. And then right next to it, we're just gonna add another line and then fill all of this in. Just like that. And grab a little more color and then leave another white line. Don't fill in all of this, just fill right next to it another white line. Show that color from underneath, and there you go. Okay, and then do the same down here, just kind of fill that in, but also leave a white line right there, and then also fill it in like that. There we go. And rinse off your brush. It looks a little flat right now, but no worries. We will add a lot more color and contrast later on, but we're doing pretty good, especially for how quickly we did this. Next part, we're going to grab the black and then put some up here. That's pretty much enough of that one. And then grab some brown and then mix it up with that. So we're going for more of a browner tone gray. And for that, that's the color that we want, but we want to dilute it with water. And then grab some of that diluted water brown gray pigment and then just color in the whole shirt. Just the whole thing. It's a light color, and we're just going to use that to color in the whole shirt with a flat wash. We're not trying to do any textures or any shading, we're just doing a flat color to establish the base of the shirt, the base color of the shirt. And just laying it all in. Okay, so that looks good. Now, just for a little bit of texture or background, I'm gonna grab a little bit more of this, maybe a little more where it's more heavily pigmented. We're gonna do a couple of, just hitting the brush just to do a couple of drops of color in the background. It's okay if it gets elsewhere on the picture. And then we're also just gonna grab this and just gonna go like that. And then try to avoid getting into the face of the gentleman. And then just do a couple of lines just like that for texture, just to have something so it's not just a blank background. And it can also help emphasize the form of the person by adding a little bit of background splatters like that. And maybe over here a little bit. That's probably good. I am gonna use my rag to pick up a little bit from where the nose is, although I don't think it'll work. I'll have to rinse off my brush, dry it off a little bit, and then just kind of work on that just a little bit. I messed up and I got a little bit on the nose, but that's okay. And then clear that off, and that looks fine. A little bit in the hand there as well, but that's okay. Okay, so now I'm just gonna rinse off my brush. And next we will go ahead and mix the hair. Well, instead of doing that, let's go ahead and work on the skin tones, because those are a little more complicated. So just find a new spot on your dish or mixing surface. Grab a little bit of the burgundy. Grab a little bit of the dark yellow. Okay. If you have a scrap piece of paper, you can always just test it out. Let's see, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna add a little bit of white in it. Okay, and then do the same, a little bit of burgundy, a little bit of dark yellow. Just because we need more pigment and more paint mixed, so we can cover everything. And then a little bit of white. I usually don't like using white when watercoloring. Using the white just helps speed things up in these coloring books. And it also kind of helps you get a better understanding of how the colors are mixed. Okay, so I like that. The way that we're going to do it is we're going to grab a little bit, and then we're going to put in again where the shadows are. So just kind of like in here in the face. And then afterwards, we're going to rinse our brush and then use whatever little pigment is left on the brush to cover in the lighter areas of the skin. So if you want, just watch how I do it and then do it yourself. So basically, we'll do a little bit right here, a little bit right here, like that, and then color in right here, and then a little bit for the neck and the clavicle, and then a little more shadow over here, like that. Okay, now rinsing off my brush a little bit, and then just from here, just grabbing that color and spreading it out throughout the rest of the face. It's okay if we paint right over the eyes and the eyebrows, because his eyes are very closed and you can't really tell that they're open. So we're just gonna fill in like that. Okay. And then we're gonna give that a moment to dry, and then we'll do some more on top of that once it's dry. Dry off my brush, and now we can do the same with this arm here. Just kind of do like that, and then follow along, going down like that, and this leg going down like that, and this leg as well as the folds right here in the knuckles, and then maybe some lines in between, just like that, and underneath that. Okay, now rinsing off my brush just a little bit and going in and covering in the rest. Like that. Maybe a little bit of pigment. And then going in, just coloring in all of that, the lighter shade. And maybe rubbing in a little bit the edge to help it blend a little better. It's okay to have some harsh lines, but it's also good to have a variation of some blends or some gradation. It makes it look more natural. Okay, so that's fine so far. While these are drying, we'll go ahead and we'll get a little bit more burgundy. We'll mix that in. We'll get a little more yellow, mix that in. Let me test how that color looks. So actually that'll be fine. This color will be just fine. I'm gonna just tilt my head a little bit to take a look at the image. Tilting your head helps you see which areas are still wet. And then, okay, yeah, it feels pretty good. The thing that I like about this paper is actually the color dries pretty quickly. Most people don't like that. I actually really like that, especially if I'm sketching or trying to lay down some details or kind of like get a concept of how I want the color to look. That's very useful. Okay, so now we'll go ahead with the darker color. We'll go ahead and we'll lay in some more detail in here like that. A little bit like that. A little bit in the ear. And kind of like the cheekbone. Coming out a little bit like that. And then the eye right underneath the eyebrow. On this side. And go slow if you have to. Shadow for the nose. Right there. A little bit underneath the mouth. And also that fold inside the mouth right there. I'm going to rinse my brush a little bit and then dry it off. There's still some pigment on there. I want to soften up this edge right there. Perfect. Soften that up a little bit. There we go. And same right here. Going to soften that up like that. And then gonna grab that same mixture of pigment and water, and then kind of lay that in over here for a harsher shadow. A little bit for where the muscle and tendons are. Gonna do a little outline, and then bring that down like that, coming all the way down to the hand on the side, and then in between the fingers, as well as the bottom of the fingers. Just kind of get all of that in like that. And then dry off my brush, and then just kind of soften the edge. Dry it off again as much as possible, and soften that edge. Soften the edge, rinse it off, dry it off, and then soften the edge. I got a little bit in the shirt, but that's okay. And then same right here. Okay. And then get a little bit more of the same color just to get a little bit of an outline. Excuse me. Do a little bit of an outline underneath the other sleeve, and then also going around like that for the other arm, and then a little bit more down here where there's less light underneath the knuckles, as well as on the finger and underneath the arm where the two arms meet. There we go, just like that. And then we can also use the same pigment on the side of the leg right here, and then kind of like that. I'll rinse off my brush, dry it off, and then soften up the edge right here. There we go. Okay, that looks good so far. And then get a little more the same for right here for the knee, and then right there on the side, going all the way down, just like that. And maybe a little more right there, just to strengthen up that shadow. And actually do a little more right here as well. And there, underneath, and then right there. And stop and take a step back, look at it. Okay, so I think all that looks perfect. It will dry a little lighter. It looks a little dark right now, but it will dry lighter, so that's fine. So the next thing that we will do is we'll mix the hair color. We'll go ahead and we'll grab a little bit of black. It's actually a bit too much. Rinse off my brush. Grab a little bit of brown. And mix that up. So that just looks like a very, very dark brown. And that's basically what we want. We're gonna get a little bit of water and just kind of mix that together, and then fill in for the hair. Just a flat wash for where all the hair is. Okay. And then also, I'm gonna grab a little more and then just go in for where the eyebrows are, and just take your time, do it nice and slow. Just want to make sure that the camera isn't blocking, or I'm not blocking the camera as I do this. So just right there, nice and slow. Okay, and I'm gonna rinse off my brush. We're gonna give that a chance to dry. I'm gonna grab a little more brown. This time I'm gonna color in his slippers. A little more brown and a little blue, or the dark blue. There we go. And a little water. Okay, we're just gonna color them in like that. Just a flat wash. And a flat wash here. And then the next thing is we are actually gonna use the same exact color just to do a shadow. And the way we're gonna do it, it's gonna be kind of like blobby and textury. It does not have to be exact, so we're just gonna go like that. Do a line. Go all around the leg. And down here like that. It's okay if it bleeds into the slipper a little bit. Maybe do a little hard, like if you push the brush harder against the paper and just drag it, you'll get that nice texture of the paper underneath. And do the same thing right here. And let's see how that looks. Pretty good. Okay. Rinse off my brush. We do want to add more contrast to everything, basically. We'll switch back to our plates. Start off by grabbing more of the black and then just kind of mixing it in here. And then we're going to go in right here. I'm going to do that fold, kind of going back over the dark parts, and then down here, the shadow. You don't want to like overemphasize everything. You could just kind of like give a suggestion of some darker tonage in the dark areas. You don't have to go completely over everything as you did before. And go in here and just do kind of like that. And the shadow. And just a little bit of the folds. And then like that. Like that. Let's see how that looks. Okay, and I might actually do just a little line, just a thin line right there. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna rinse that off. And then the brown gray that we used for the shirt, I'm gonna mix a little bit more of that, but just make it darker. So a little bit of the black. I'm actually gonna get a little more dark blue. Okay, that looks pretty good. And we're gonna go in and then just cover in this area. Kind of follow the folds in the shirt a little bit as we're laying it down. And down here. A little back here as well. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna do back here like that. And then should do a couple of, just kind of to emphasize that that's where the shadow is coming from. Now that will dry much lighter here around the neck. I'm just doing some short strokes just to show there are folds there, so we just want to get those in. And then maybe a little bit down here, kind of like that. Just using this shadow to help emphasize where the arm is. Kind of like that. I'm going to rinse off my brush, dry it off, and then I'm going to use it to soften up some of the edges. Just like that. Perfect. And I'm going to step back again, see how it looks. Okay, getting there. Those pants are really sticking out though, just because they have the highest contrast out of everything right now. So while the shirt is drying, I'm going to mix up some more of the dark color in the chairs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some green, get some more green, more green, some dark blue. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to get the back legs like this one. I'm going to go back over it like that. And a little bit right here. Just like that. And then the crease in the plastic, it's part of the design, I'm guessing. Just gonna go like that and like that. And then maybe a little bit back here. And definitely this one. Just kind of like that. You don't have to cover the whole thing. You just want to make sure that that suggestion exists, or that you put some emphasis in there. And some more right here. Like that. And rinse off my brush. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back to my other palette. The little spot that we had mixed for the slippers. I'm gonna get a little more brown on there. And a little black. A little more brown. A little blue. There we go. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna lay down some shadow here on the slippers. Like that. Same for the other one. Okay. Looking better. Rinse off my brush. And actually, same. I'm going to use the same area because I'm going to add a little more black to this right here. And just going to rinse off my brush, dry it off completely, and then just grab a little bit of this black. And I'm going to use it to show the texture in the hair. So I'm going to cover up some of the back just because that's where the shadow is, and then just do some short strokes kind of going this way towards the front of the face. And do the same. Just like that. We're gonna reinforce the dark areas of the eyebrows. Okay. And then we're gonna go back to our other area where this dark gray lives. It's very similar to the hair, that color. I'm gonna add a little more black to it, just so we can get some more intensity out of the shadows. And a little bit of brown. Okay, and now we're gonna kind of push the contrast. So we're gonna get in there like that, and down here behind the arm, down here where it's the darkest, and there's some folds. Okay, and then just a couple of quick strokes here for the folds, and over here. There we go. Just like that. And again, take a moment, look at it. It's interesting to see how the image just kind of pops out slowly over time, is being brought to life. I'm going to use the same dark color because they're so similar. I'm just going to use it to kind of show some emphasis here. Like that. There we go. And I'm going to grab some of this color down here without rinsing my brush. I'm just going to kind of mix them in. I'm going to use that because it's a very nice dark color to give two little lines for the eyelashes. accidentally put a little blob there. It looks like I gave him an eyeball. Made it look kind of weird. Yeah, I'm kind of far from the... I can't get right up and close to look at it because my head will block the camera, but... that kind of works. Rinse off my brush. And I'm going to go back to the little area where we had mixed the skin tones. And I'm going to grab a little more of the burgundy, a little more of the dark yellow. Okay. A little more burgundy. There we go. Let me use my scrap piece of paper. Basically, I'm wanting to just step up the shadows in the skin. But I am going to take a little bit of, just a very small amount of green, just because I want to darken this color. Just a little bit of green. There we go. We just want to dull it down and darken it so that I can add more to the shadows of the skin, but we don't want to make it look like the plastic chairs. So, I'm going to add a little bit right there, a little bit right there, a little bit in the ear, like that, like that, a little bit for the mouth. Okay. Maybe give the nose just a slight outline right there. Okay, I'm going to rinse off my brush. I'm going to dry it off completely. And then I'm going to soften that. Same right here. Same right here. And down here. And then also use some of that pigment going down into the clavicle here. Maybe into the shadow of the underneath the eyebrow, and then a little bit underneath the mouth. Let's see. So that looks okay, only if we increase the shadows in the rest of the where the skin is being exposed. So we have to go here and a little bit here. Kind of follow in like that, like that. A little bit here, here. And same for the knuckles, fingers, and then down here. Let's see. There we go. It looks much better. And then we're going to go back to this one. I did realize that more of this chair needs to be in shadow just because this leg is kind of being covered here from the sun. Kind of like that. There we go. Maybe do a little more right here. And right there. The last part is that the label for the water bottle, you just get a little bit of blue and mix it with the one of the darker colors, and you can just put it right there for the water bottle. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, we have the full figure right there, all the shadows. And you can work on building up the shadows some more if you wanted to, but that's the whole gist of it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so I thank you for painting with me, and I'm interested to see what yours turned out like. I always like seeing those. And if you have any questions, post them in the comments. A lot of the intensity comes from just layering and layering over and over time. So yeah, thank you for painting with me, and I will see you next time.